Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today we're going to be doing a roundup review of some cool toned eyeshadow palettes. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we're going to do a video where I'm going to sort of rope in all of the cool toned eyeshadow palettes that I tried since I last did a video like this, which was I think in the summertime, and I have 8 palettes to chat about with you. Well, actually 9 if you count my honorable mention, but there's one that I've mentioned so much already that I was like, do I really still need to mention it? But I know some people may have questions when I do post this video in the end, so that's why I thought I could rope in a 9th one. Just, you know, just sneakily throw it in there. And in case you are unfamiliar with the channel, hi, my name is Maaike. This is my 4th video in Eyeshadow Palette Week this year, and I just thought I could come on here to chat some more about eyeshadow palettes, because that's what I enjoy chatting about the most with you. I also have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which greatly skews my makeup preferences. I try a lot of S's and Catrice. I like getting the use out of my makeup, plus I have been doing this for quite some time, so if I say that something's a favorite, it's a favorite. And if you'd like to join the Snow Angel family, all you need to do is click subscribe down below. Let's get cracking with these 8 eyeshadow palettes. So yes, cool tones. I always say it in my intro how I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and that just means I like different things than most other people. And that's sort of what I've been trying to, make my channels about, is if you love cool tones as well, as much as I do, that this is hopefully like a space where you can find some cool toned love. A lot of the eyeshadow palettes that are usually very raved about in the makeup sphere tend to be a lot warmer tone than what I tend to prefer, or they are just too deep for me as well because of, my pale skin. Sometimes I like deeper things as well. I can get away with a warm tone for sure. I do enjoy warm toned looks on myself sometimes, but if we're talking comfort zone, cool tones is where it's at. But I have, after trying nearly every single cool tone palette that I have been able to get my hands on, I also have some very, very good ideas of what I do like to see and what I don't like to see. So I don't like cool tone palettes that are overly gray, because some brands seem to think that a cool tone palette needs to be gray. Like, you can have cool tone browns, cool tone purples, cool tone greens, cool tone blues, like anything in that realm can be a cool tone. And when it comes to cool tone neutrals, which is you'll see. That's where, that's definitely my safe space. I feel that a gray doesn't necessarily have to be a neutral for a lot of people. So that's why I prefer taupes, because taupes can really be a range of things. They're usually a mix between a gray and a brown. And depending on how much brown they have, they can pull a bit warmer or they can pull a bit cooler. They can have a hint of purple in them, a hint of blue, a hint of green, and a green tone taupe is like one of my all-time favorite shades. But I did a video all about my favorite taupe eyeshadows in January, so I can link that down below in case you would like to know. So let me just stop rambling, get to the point of the video, which is 9 essentially cool toned eyeshadow palettes that I've tried in recent months. And some of these, I think most of these were all purchased in the winter season, and I tried most of them in the past few months. And to give you sort of an overview of what these are. This isn't necessarily a ranking. I'm not going to say oh, this is my favorite. I think later in the year, when I do eyeshadow palette month in August, that's a thing I've been doing for a few years now, I think I want to do a ranking of all of my cool toned eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. I'm scared. I'm scared of that one, but that may be something that I might want to do at some point. Let me know in a comment down below if that's something you'd like to see. But yeah, the honorable mention that we have to talk about here is this little guy. This is new from Catrice for Spring Summer 2023. It's their 5 in a box mini eyeshadow palette in 080 Diamond Lavender Look. And Diamond Lavender Look is, one of those palettes that just kind of dropped, and a lot of these 5 in a box palettes, like some of the more recent ones we got, the Cocky one is especially, but you'll see because we're ranking all of the 5 in a box palettes in a video this week as well. But yeah, sometimes these look really exciting on the website and then you go like, huh. And I know that if you have deep skin, you'll probably won't like this. If you're like me, however, and you love your cool tones and you're quite fair, then I think this may be a really good, just standard everyday eyeshadow palette. I was able to pull 5 really incredible looks out of this. But here's why I didn't really want to make this part of the main part of this video, because I already did a dedicated review with this. I put it in my eyeshadow palette review. I showed it to you in my first impression when I tried the new Catrice products. I have an Essence and Catrice review update that I need to do in May. So this has been making the rounds on my channel. So in case you didn't know that I like this yet, that's just why I'm like putting it in this video, but I'm pretty sure if you've been here before that you know how much I love this thing. So let's just kick off with something that I haven't reviewed for you yet, but it is on my review pile, and that's why it's on my eyes today. So I thought that could be a good start to the actual video. Viseart, the Cool Mattes. So this is one that I kind of picked up thinking, you know what, I love a Viseart formula. Their mattes are incredible, and it's 12 shades that are cool toned and they're matte. So I think I might like this. But here's the thing. Now that I've tried it, I'm like, yeah, I can see why I am so not in line with all matte eyeshadow. An all matte look, I feel just isn't necessarily for me. So this has confirmed that, like, my apprehension, you could say, for using a full-on matte palette and nothing else. Like, if I were to ever go back to this, which I will, at some point in time, I'll go back to this baby for sure. But I just need some sparkle in my life. And because I feel it brings the eye look to a new level. With my eye shape, I feel I need shimmer for it to be a well-rounded look and not look like I was like punched in the face or something. I mean, I like this. This is pretty from a distance, but I don't really like the way it looks on my more textured lids when you go close up. Those images will be inserted in the eyeshadow palette review that I will do for you later this month. I'm currently testing out a bunch of Viseart palettes and this baby is part of that review. So yeah, in terms of cool tonedness, this is again, as I already mentioned in my intro, not one of my favorites because I find it's too gray leaning. So it's got a lot going for it. If you look at it in the pan, you're like, yep, I got neutrally browns, I've got some grays, some blues, and some purples. Here's the thing. All of these have a gray undertone. All of them are gray, essentially. Like, these are grays with a bit of purple, these are grays with a bit of blue, and these are blue tone grays. And the gray row is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. And I don't know about you, but from a distance, it looks like I'm wearing blue eyeshadow, even though this is the shade that I popped all over the lid. I don't know, but So I feel that undertone-wise, yes, everything is cool-toned, but everything is cool-toned because it is gray, and those are just not my favorite cool tones. So even though this is pretty, it's a really good formula. I love a Viseart matte, but that's why I bought this, because I think that having a all matte palette in my makeup collection is a good thing to have, but I would certainly go back to this and like layer a K-Beauty glitter shadow over something like what I'm wearing today, just to get some more like punch out of it, because even though these are really good formula, really blendable, buttery smooth mattes, like Viseart makes some of my favorite mattes on the planet, and these did not disappoint, I just feel that every look I did with this looks pretty similar once on the eye, and I did 3 different looks with it, so I'm not getting the versatility out of this that I would want to, but that could also be the fact because caused by the fact that it's a matte palette. Like if this had like a shimmer or two, I might have been able to feel it's a bit more elevated in my opinion, but yeah, good palette, good quality for sure, but I wanted a bit more from this. Shall we continue with the mini things? Because I've got quite a lot of mini things, and I almost forgot, but something I tried in the fall time that was new to me is this. This is by Glossier. This is their Monochromes Essential Eye Trio in jute. And when I saw this in their store, I was in heaven. So the concept of these little trios from Glossier is that you get a matte, you get a satin, and you get a metallic shade. Oh, it's actually the other way around. This is the metallic, that's the satin. And Jute is a more cool tone brown taupe leaning eyeshadow. They also do one in a really nice dusty purple that I forgot the name of, but maybe I am going to go to London in August. If the Glossier store is still open there, I may just pick up that purpley one because I really like the look of that as well. But at the time when I was picking this up, I could only justify buying the one thing from Glossier and not like 2 eyeshadow palettes. But yeah, I'd like to get more of this. This is really amazing quality, and I think that the different textures you get in here really make this a bit more versatile. You can like just use this all over the lid, or you can use this all over the lid. This one is perhaps a little bit too shiny for a one and done for some people, but I definitely would use it that way. And of course you can use these two together, or you can do all 3 together. So essentially it's like what, 5 or 6 looks with just these. There is one gripe. I wish this was a quad. And that we got one more matte or like even a shimmer that's like in between these two in terms of intensity that is deeper. Because what this is lacking is depth. Like the thing in the gloss in the Viseart is you go from light to dark, which makes it super easy to create looks with. But here I just miss some depth. And of course, not every eyeshadow palette needs to be able to do everything. And if I were to reach for this, I'm going to go for something super basic. This is definitely great for travel. You get a good size mirror in the lid. It's really nice and curated. What's even better is that you can lift out this entire tray. And if you have one compact, you can just like, you know, change out the trays if you'd like. So it's a little bit more sustainable from that point of view. The Viseart palette though is... That one also has removable pans, so I'm not sure. But yeah, this is just, it's a little lackluster, and I think especially for some people, it's going to be too lackluster. Like, just one shade that you could use as liner, you know, or to deepen something up. But of course, Glossier is the no makeup brand, so that's not something we're gonna get from a brand like Glossier, I think. So when it comes to brand aesthetic and what the palette does, and the fact that you do get those 3 different textures is what I really like about it. This is not going to be my I'm going out in a full glam makeup look kind of eyeshadow palette, but this is the I'm gonna throw this in a bag so I have something with me and I can throw something on. Like this is especially great if you're someone who wears like one look to work perhaps, and then if you want to go out later in the day, you want to build on that and like expand it further, so you do your daytime look with this. Maybe you take a smudgy eyeliner with you and just in the bathroom at work you can like really nicely do a bit of smudgy liner and you've got a look. So I can definitely see the way this works in my lifestyle, which is why I enjoy it, but I think that a lot of people would want more with this one. Speaking of well, it's not necessarily matte because there is one satin shade, but in March, and I'm gonna have to clean this up because it's very fingerprinty, but in March I tried a bunch of these palettes for the first time, and one thing I tried was the Victoria Beckham, what is the eyeshadow? Smoky Eye Brick. I keep forgetting what it's called. It's in the shade Tuxedo, and it looks like a little cigarette case, like a vintage cigarette case, really stunning. And this is the one that I chose. This was sent to me in PR, just for full transparency. And this, you might think, Micah, this is far too gray tone, because, you know, you get a gray and a darker gray and this beige shade. But this is the shade that makes it for me, this taupey brown. Life! This in the crease, that to blend it out, and then this deeper matte as a smudgy liner is the perfect smoky eye. Could you just use these 2 shades to make it a full-on smoky look? You could, but I paired this with my lid luster in the shade Onyx that I received in the same package, and that's another thing that I feel this thing misses, a nice shimmer. I wish that this very light matte would be split into 2 and that we get at least a shimmer in this palette. It's not the way this palette is designed. It's not the intention of the product for sure, but like with the Glossier, I don't think this palette is gonna do everything that you might want. And for how expensive it is, that might mean it's not worth it to you. The reason I love this one, and I mentioned it in my review as well, is the texture of these. These are some of the just most blendable, easiest to work with eyeshadows I've ever come across. These blend themselves. And the only reason why I'm not going to be buying more from this is because none of the other color stories appeal to me. This was the only one that really stood out to me. There is one that has a blue that I might like, but I'm not entirely sure about that one because I'm not a huge like bright blue eyeshadow kind of gal. I like my navies, but that blue is quite bright, so I'm not sure I'm gonna get down with that. But this is just a stunning little palette, really good quality, and I think that especially like with the Glossier, if you're someone who likes to just do a basic look and then, you know, intensify it throughout the day, if you go clubbing after you've been out all day, then this is the kind of thing that's gonna work again. This is really great to, well, I wouldn't throw this into a makeup bag because it's quite heavy packaging. So I'm not sure how well this would go if you travel with this because these shadows do feel very soft and there are no dividers between the shades. That may be another reason why you may not like this. I mean, it's one pan and all of these shades are pressed into it, but there are no dividers. So if this cracks, and for how expensive this is, I mean, you're not gonna like yourself very much. So I would not travel with this, just to be on the safe side. But yeah, these are some of the most buttery, smooth, easiest to work with shadows I've tried in a long time. More mini stuff, the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palette in Vega. And this is what it looks like. This has the shimmers and the depth that I feel some of the other palettes were missing, and where the Viseart was far too gray toned, we get taupes. Ooh, the little insert is falling out. But we get taupes rather than grays. The blue isn't really a blue. It's more like a steely gray. So it's a gray with a blue undertone, I feel, at least on me. But that does add that pop of something that if you want to go more colorful, you can. You get a nice shade to deepen things up with that you can use as a liner. But you do get like really good basic shades, some really intense shimmers. So this little 6-pan, I feel, is really successful for me personally because I get everything I need for a very basic look. I can add a pop of color. I can intensify it for a full glam look. And I've got the shimmers to really get some more use out of it. This is a great topper shade, so that can transform all three of these. And these two are just really lovely satiny metallics. Like this is more of a satin, this is more of a metallic. So you could go this for the everyday, this perhaps for a little bit more of a glam moment, top this in the inner corner or all over it for some added glam. This is a perfect liner or deepening up shade, and this on the lower lash line. And you've got a really good look. So this one, it's as expensive as the Victoria Beckham one. This one I did pay for with my own money, and I think I like it even a little bit better. The formula I feel between these is quite similar in terms of how easy they blend, how easy they are to work with. This is stunning. And I would like to try some more from Lisa Eldridge. The Myth and the Sorcery palette, sadly both of them are out of stock, but this was the only one I could get my hands on for now. But this is a lovely formula. We all know I love my Lisa Eldridge lipsticks. In fact, I'm wearing one today. But yeah, the eyeshadow I feel is also on point. From super expensive things onto something more affordable, the ColourPop Troublemaker palette. This was launched in October time, I think. It was like a fall release for them, I believe. And I didn't get it straight away. I waited until the Black Friday sale to pick this up. And I only got one eyeshadow palette from ColourPop at the time because after trying some of the like the newer, larger pans that ColourPop started doing, I think already 2 years ago by now, but I felt that they felt really hard pressed and the eyeshadow wasn't like I remember ColourPop being able to do eyeshadows. So that's why I only got one palette because I had been so disappointed with some of the things I had tried before that. And then I tried the Troublemaker and I was like, They still got it. They can still do a good eyeshadow. I just wish that ColourPop was a little bit more consistent. Now, in terms of a cool tone palette, it's cool toned, but not everything is overly cool toned. Like these two, and also this pink, like these can be a bit on the warm side, but I found out as I was using this that these did pull a bit more cool toned as I was blending these out. So that made me happy. I think when I used this, I did like 2 looks or 3, I don't remember. But I put some of the plums together, I put some of the grays together and some of the taupey sort of shades. So this, even though it has like this gray and this gray and this gray in the middle, no. Is that a gray? No, it's got a silver. Wait, this one. It's not overly gray because it has 2 like things that lean a bit more taupe, which I like, and that shimmer that I was mislabeling, it's got a really nice flash. The only issue I had with this is that it was made to look like the shimmers in this palette had really pretty duochromatic sort of flips, and I felt they were just standard shimmers. Like on my lids, once I used them with a brush, I didn't feel any of the shimmers that were made to look super shifty in some of the images I was able to find online, that they were truly that shifty. So if you were hoping that this could be a cool tone palette with some amazing duochromes, it's not. It just isn't. Is this a pretty eyeshadow palette if you just want like mattes and shimmers in a more cool tone color story that's going to give you grunge but a hint of like something purple that you can make very neutral with a hint of pink, for instance, or you can really glam it up and go like nice and deep? Then this is definitely one that I think you might like. We get a couple of really stunning undertones in this. I really like the blendability of this as well. ColourPop can, of course, be quite expensive if you're not in the US. I'm in the EU myself. I live in the Netherlands, and when I place ColourPop orders, I always make sure I have enough to at least hit free international shipping, and I wait for them to do a 25% off sale. It may be good to know that ColourPop doesn't put the sale price on the tax form, so you're gonna have to pay tax. So make sure that if you add up all of the products at full price, that you stay under the €150 mark to not be hit with an extra tax bill. If you are in the EU. So what I usually do is I don't order from ColourPop. Like if I place an order with ColourPop, it's usually between 60 and €100. And then I have the sort of the space for it to not, that I don't get the additional taxes I have to pay on top of the shipping and handling fees, because you're gonna have to pay for shipping and handling fees, of course. And I feel that if you do it that way, buy a bit more in one go, 25% off, but with free shipping and staying under that tax bracket, you're gonna be able to still make it worth it and sort of get these products at the price that they would go for if you bought them at full price when they were launched. So that's sort of the way I do it. But that's something that, of course, you need to figure out, is that something you want to do or not? But that's why I also have some EU brands that I want to chat about with you. And one of those EU-based brands is the Glam Shop Cashmere palette. So Glam Shop is a brand I featured on my channel before. I've tried a couple of their palettes, and in recent months I tried their cashmere. They now also do a coffee line that I'm really interested in as well. That seems to have a really nice cool tone brown palette as well. But the cashmere is quite a light palette. It's got depth, it does have that. It doesn't have any of like the plummy undertones though. This is truly like a straight up neutral palette that is more cool toned, and where the ColourPop didn't have any fun flips, this does. This shade here, I'm not sure if the light is gonna pick up on it, but you can see that it kind of shifts. Like it looks like a boring taupe, but it actually has a little bit of a lavender base with a gold champagne sort of flip. This one here as well, it's got a bit of green running through it. These are amazing shimmers, like Glam Shop shimmers. If you've never tried them, they're really good. This is quite a matte heavy palette though. There are more mattes than there are shimmers, so I would have liked there to be a little bit more of a shimmer thing. And we do get some warmth in here, so it's not a straight up cool tone palette, I feel, but it does lean more cool toned. It's more neutral to cool rather than like neutral to warm, if that's the way you would categorize it. I mean, we get a really nice cool tone brown and this cool tone brown that's deeper. This shade here is Life. I love that one, but it's definitely in the lighter section here that I feel we get some more warmth. So I think I would have liked this even better if we would have gotten some more like consistent cool tones, even in the lighter shades. Just because something is light doesn't mean it all of a sudden needs to be a peach. Like, what's going on with this shimmer? I mean, a lot of brands actually do this, like especially in the like cheek ranges. If you go to like lighter shades, everything turns peach all of a sudden. Whereas if you go for like shades that are geared more towards deeper skin, very often that's where you'll find really good cool tone blushes that you can use with a very light hand, and that will look really nicely if you have a very cool undertone. And I feel that this is just, you know, it's just a good neutral palette. It's not overly cool toned, not overly warm toned. I think this can appeal to a lot of people, especially if you have fair skin, because it is quite light. So I think that's one of the main things it's got going for it. The things that look very warm toned, such as the shade in the middle, don't pull, like they didn't pull overly warm on me, I should say. But if you have a very cool undertone, this may just be a bit too warm toned for your liking. Just saying, putting that out there. They have some other really good cool tone color stories as well. Definitely check them out. They're far cheaper than Colourpop if you do live in the EU. They are not the only EU-based indie brand that does some really good cool tone palettes. The Smoke and Mirrors from Gloss Gods. Now, sadly, this was limited edition for Christmas, so this is no longer on their website, but I just put it in here because I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll bring it back. Who knows? Maybe at some point, maybe next Christmas, this may come back. Who knows? I don't know. But the minute I spotted this, I was like, yep, I want this. And I got this when I hadn't even tried the new neutral yet. But because it was a limited edition Christmas palette and I could get 25% off, like they do some sales throughout the year. So that may be something you want to wait for as well. And because they're based in Sweden, the shipping and handling fees aren't too terrible. I do feel that palettes did go up in price a little bit, I have to say. But this is a stunning, like just straight up cool toned eyeshadow palette. For some people, I have heard that they think this and this look identical on them. On me, they pulled very differently. The deepest shade is a shimmer, which you have to like. And what we also get in here are some really pretty like pinky, purpley mauve tones, which I love. This looked to be a bit of a warm tone, like with the cashmere, but when I played with it, it actually is more of like a brassy taupe. I'm here for it, and this as well. It looks very warm toned compared to everything else, and that is also a really nice, more like taupey beige leaning shade. These two whites both have a different flip, which I don't think you can see. This has a pinky flip, and then this is more like a straight up white with a little bit of a champagne kind of vibe to it. This was stunning. I really liked it. It's not too deep, but it can be built up to something more deep toned and more glamorous if that's what you like to. I love how it's a smoky eyeshadow palette, so we get the grays that we see in a lot of cool toned smoky palettes, but you do get this half of the palette that just makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more versatile. I think this is a stunning palette, a great release from Gloss Gods. Sad that it's no longer available. So I hope they bring it back at some point. But yeah, if you are interested in indie makeup and you are in the EU, then Gloss Gods is another brand that I think may be worth looking into. And finally, the last palette I wanted to feature here is the Vive 90s palette. And this is a great one again, but I do feel that this is the kind of cool tone palette that's going to appeal to people who like more glamorous looks, who love matte looks, but also people who love their warm tones. This is just the kind of palette where I feel that if you truly love your cool tones, this isn't necessarily going to be the best. And the reason why I say that isn't because this is overly warm toned or anything, but really you only get 3 shimmers, this, and this. And for me, the only shimmer I could really get it to look shimmery was this. This is quite warm. This is quite warm. And this is pretty gray heavy again as well. Oh, and by the way, these two I feel are also quite warm toned. So about 4 of these could pull into a more warm tone direction. Plus, because of the black background, these don't look as dark as they do once you put them on the lid. So I think this is more of a cool tone palette for people who normally love warm tones. That's the way I would categorize it. I'm very happy that I got to try it. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Is it a stunning palette? Yes. Will I reach for this again in the future? Also yes. But for me, it wasn't exactly perfect because it was A, too dark, and 2, I didn't feel all of the shades necessarily went together. Oh, I now see it in this lighting that even this shade here, the shimmer, has gold flecks in it. Like, it's not a straight up taupe. It actually has some gold sparkle running through it, which it's a pretty shade, I'm not gonna lie. But the Vive Cosmetics 90s palette is just one where I'm like, yeah, I like it, but I can just, like, when it comes to the owner of the brand, or at least the creator behind it, Jamie Genevieve, I don't know if you've ever watched her videos, she's amazing at doing makeup. It's just not the kind of makeup that I like to do, but if that is your makeup style, then this palette is definitely for you, but I don't think this is necessarily the cool tone palette for everyone. So those were the cool toned eyeshadow palettes that I wanted to feature in today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Let me know in a comment down below what your cool toned palette is that you've tried recently. This was just a quick little roundup review, so I really hope you enjoyed watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I'll be back with a new video in Eyeshadow Palette Week tomorrow. And check out the description box as well, because I'll have lots of links for these. So if you were interested in buying some of them, I do have some affiliate links down below as well. So like, stay tuned for more Eyeshadow Palette Week, and then I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye!